Have you ever felt invisible in a room full of people? Have you smiled to keep the peace, while something inside you quietly cracked? Ever wondered how your life started shrinking, without anyone raising their voice? Not all destruction comes with noise. Sometimes it's a gentle voice, a thoughtful gesture, a presence that slowly erodes your edges. They don't burn you down, they dim you. They don't control you with chains, they use your love, your guilt, your silence. In this video, I won't scream warnings. I'll hand you a mirror and gently point to the cracks you've been taught to ignore. If you're exhausted but can't explain why, if someone always needs you, but you never feel truly seen, if peace has become a memory instead of a feeling, then stay. Because I'm about to share 6 subtle signs that someone may be orchestrating your collapse behind a friendly mask. Hit subscribe, not for another video, but to reclaim the clarity, energy, and peace that was always yours to begin with. 1. They drain your energy and your resources. And the hardest part, you don't even notice until it's already taken too much. I want you to imagine this. You're standing in a room filled with sunlight, windows wide open, air is flowing, light is everywhere, and you feel good. Then, little by little, someone walks in and starts pulling the curtains, one by one, softly, quietly. No fight, no noise, just shadows creeping in, until one day, you can't remember what sunlight used to feel like. That is what it feels like to be emotionally, financially, even spiritually drained by someone you trusted. Have you ever been that person, the giver? The one who says yes because it's kinder, who rearranges your day so they don't feel disappointed, who lends money you won't get back, not because you can't say no, but because you won't. I can share with you about a man named Robert. He was 67 when I met him, a retired firefighter. Big hands, quiet voice, the kind of man who fixed his neighbor's fence just because it was falling. But the day he sat across from me, he didn't look strong. He looked tired, not physically. So tired, you know that look. Robert had a nephew, a charming one, always smiling. Lost his job again, needed a place to stay again, had one more project that just needed a little cash. Robert gave, again and again, until one day he opened his bank account and realized that generosity, when abused, turns into regret. But here's the thing, Robert wasn't mad. He was ashamed. I just didn't want to be the person who turned his back, he said. And I told him something I want to share with you, too. Protecting your peace is not turning your back. It's choosing to face yourself again. You see, some people don't take from you with violence or demand. They take with softness, with stories, with helplessness. They make you feel responsible for their broken pieces. And the more you try to fix them, the more you disappear. The Stoics, ancient thinkers like Epictetus, they understood this too well. He once said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Why? Because sometimes protecting your energy makes you look cold, selfish even. But what's worse, being misunderstood for a moment, or being emptied for a lifetime, psychologically. These individuals operate from a place of dependency, often masked as affection. They might not mean harm, not consciously, but the result is the same. Your time starts revolving around their needs. Your money flows toward their emergencies. Your joy shrinks around their chaos, and slowly, your sense of self begins to blur. You start forgetting what your own needs feel like. You say I'm fine out of habit. You skip dinner to answer their call. You cancel plans you were excited for because they really needed you. And at first, it feels noble, generous, like love, until you realize it was never mutual. I want you to pause and ask yourself something. Not from fear, from clarity. After I spend time with this person, do I feel fuller or emptier? If you leave drained, anxious, doubting yourself, that's not connection, that's consumption. Real relationships, the ones rooted in health, don't leave you exhausted. They pour into you as much as you pour out. They ask, "How are you?" and wait for a real answer. They respect your boundaries, your time, your silence. But these energy drainers, they never notice your silence. They only panic when their needs aren't met. And here's what I want you to remember. You are not selfish for stepping away. You are not cruel for saying, "No, I can't today." You are not weak for needing space to breathe, to rest, to rebuild. The Stoic philosophers believed that peace, ataraxia, they called it, isn't about the world going silent. It's about you knowing what to let in. And in today's world, protecting your emotional ecosystem is sacred work, because your energy is your most valuable resource. Time, you can never get back. Mental space, once crowded, takes years to clear. And your spirit, that quiet, wise part of you, it can't thrive when someone else keeps pulling the light away. I'm not saying cut people off cold. That's not stoic, that's impulsive. I'm saying, create a door, one you can close, when the room grows toxic. One with a lock, if needed. One that reminds you, this is your space. Not everyone gets to live in it. And if you're afraid they'll be angry, let them be. If they accuse you of changing, maybe you have, and that's growth. If they say you've become distant, that distance is where your healing begins. You were not put here to be someone's permanent power supply. You were not born to be a battery they drain until you're too empty to function. You were made to create, to love, to rest. You deserve to feel peace in your own home, in your own thoughts, in your own skin. So tonight, I want you to sit quietly, take a breath, and ask yourself honestly, who leaves me feeling less like me? Then, gently, without guilt, take one step back. It might be the bravest step you ever take, and it might be the one that saves your soul. They use your weaknesses as weapons, and they call it feedback. I want you to think about this. Have you ever trusted someone so deeply that you shared your insecurities with them? Maybe it was something you never told anyone else, a regret, a fear, a quiet doubt you carry inside. And at first, they listened, nodded, maybe even comforted you. You felt seen, maybe even safe. But then one day it changes. That same person brings it up, not to heal, but to hurt, not to support, but to cut you down. And they do it so well that you almost believe they're right. I once spoke with a woman named Linda, 62, retired teacher. She told me about her sister-in-law, someone she once called a best friend. Linda had always struggled with self-confidence around her body, ever since childhood. And one day, in a moment of openness, she told her sister-in-law about it. It felt freeing, she said. I thought I was building trust. But months later, during a small family gathering, the sister-in-law made a joke. A small one. Said something like, "Oh, Linda's never been comfortable in front of a camera, have you?" Everyone laughed. Linda smiled, too. But something inside her shattered, because that wasn't a joke. That was her deepest vulnerability, served on a plate, for public entertainment. This is what emotional weaponization looks like. It's not yelling, it's not physical, it's surgical. And the people who do this often wear the mask of honesty, or worse, love. They'll say, "I'm just telling you this because I care." You need to hear it from someone who loves you. But you don't feel loved. You feel smaller, quieter, dimmer. And slowly, you start believing the voice that's chipping away at you, even when that voice isn't your own. The Stoics warned us of this danger. Epictetus said, it's not the things themselves that disturb us, but the opinions we hold about them. When someone plants doubt in you, when they remind you of your failures, your fears, your flaws, again and again, it rewrites the opinion you hold about yourself. This is not support. This is control. Psychologically, these individuals often operate from their own unresolved pain. They see your soft spots because they live with their own, but instead of healing, they poke yours. It's easier to feel powerful by keeping someone else down than by rising on their own. And if you're the kind of person who's emotionally intelligent, compassionate, self-aware, you're a perfect target. Why? Because you'll consider their words, you'll give them the benefit of the doubt. You'll wonder, maybe they're right. That's where the damage begins, not outside, but within. You begin to silence yourself before speaking. You replay conversations, wondering what you did wrong. You start seeing yourself through their lens, flawed, fragile, too much, or not enough. Let me say this clearly, real love never humiliates. Real care never needs cruelty. Real feedback doesn't leave you bleeding. So how do you protect yourself? The Stoics offer a simple but powerful answer: discernment. To see clearly, even through charm, even through constructive criticism. To ask yourself, do I feel stronger or smaller after talking to this person? Do their words help me grow or shrink? You don't have to confront them with rage, but you do have to reclaim your voice. Set quiet boundaries. Stop handing over your most sacred truths to people who treat them like weapons. You can still be kind and guarded. You can still be open and selective. You can still love and protect your soul. Because here's the truth. You deserve to be seen, not dissected. You deserve feedback that lifts you, not labels. You deserve people who speak life into you, not people who wrap their poison in politeness. I want you to imagine this. Your heart is a garden. Every word someone speaks into it is a seed. Are they planting flowers or thorns? You already know the answer. So today, choose peace over pleasing. Choose self-trust over self-doubt. Choose to walk away from those who dim you in the name of love. Because real love never needs to make you feel small to feel true. 3. They create constant chaos and call it life. I want you to take a moment, breathe. Now think of someone in your life who never brings peace when they enter a room. Only confusion, tension, unfinished drama. And yet somehow, you're always the one picking up the emotional pieces. You ever wonder why peace feels impossible when they're around? It's not bad timing. It's not just how they are. It's a pattern, and it's designed to keep you off balance. A man named Joseph once told me this story. He was a 70-year-old former truck driver. Quiet soul, big heart. Every Sunday, he'd spend time with his niece until she brought her new boyfriend around. At first, the guy was charming, helpful, even polite. But slowly, birthdays became arguments. Family dinners turned to debates. Holidays started with tension and ended with apologies. No matter how small the gathering, something always went wrong. And somehow, Joseph found himself at the center of the blame. But here's the truth. He hadn't changed. The environment had. Because when chaos follows someone like a shadow, it's not an accident. It's a method. These individuals, they don't break things loudly. They poke. They whisper. They nudge just enough to spark discomfort, ignite suspicion, plant division. And then they step back and act surprised, like, I don't know what happened. I was just trying to help. People are so sensitive these days. That's the trick. They destabilize everything while keeping their hands clean. The Stoics spoke of this. Marcus Aurelius said, the tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say or think or do, only what you do. But to reach that peace, you must first recognize the storm they bring. Psychologically, these individuals are addicted to emotional disruption. Why? Because chaos creates control. When everything is urgent, nothing is examined. When you're always reacting, you're never reflecting. And when you're exhausted, you're easy to influence. It's not just emotional, it's strategic. They use your kindness, your desire for harmony, as a way-in. They rely on the fact that you'll clean up after the mess, that you'll be the bigger person, that you'll forgive again and again. But over time, that chaos doesn't just live around you. It starts to live within you. You wake up tired. You anticipate conflict before it even happens. You walk on eggshells in your own home. That's not love. That's not connection. That's emotional captivity. And you don't escape it with confrontation. You escape it with clarity. Ask yourself, does this person bring more light or more weight into my life? Am I constantly managing their emotions while ignoring my own? Is my nervous system always in alert mode around them? If yes, it's time to remember this. Peace is not selfish. Boundaries are not cruel. And not everyone deserves front row access to your soul just because they knock politely. The Stoics taught us not to be reactive, but to be reflective. To observe, not absorb. To step back and ask, is this mine to carry? And if it's not, let it go. Let them go. Because in the end, the chaos they carry isn't your responsibility. Your peace is. And in a world filled with noise, keeping your spirit still is the boldest act of survival. So if someone in your life never brings calm, only crisis, it's not drama, it's data, and it's telling you something. 4. They poison the people around you and never raise their voice. You ever look around and wonder, why are the people I used to trust pulling away from me? No fights, no betrayals, just distance, coldness, silence. It doesn't happen overnight. It begins quietly, with a whisper, a comment, a seed of doubt. I'm worried about them. They've been acting strange lately. I just don't know if you can really trust what they say anymore. And the worst part, they say it with concern, not accusation, not drama. Just enough to make people pause, rethink, step back. That's how social sabotage works. Not through confrontation, but through quiet corrosion. I once knew a woman named Claire, a retired nurse in her 60s, loved by her community. Always the one bringing soup when someone was sick, remembering birthdays no one else did. Until one day, her circle started shrinking. Friends stopped calling. Neighbors got cold. What changed? A new friend had moved in close. Someone who slowly rewrote Claire's story for others. Nothing obvious. Just subtle narratives. She's been forgetful lately. She mentioned feeling overwhelmed. I'm honestly a little worried. She told me something in confidence. But I think people need to know. Claire wasn't slipping. But people started treating her like she was. And eventually, she started believing it herself. That's the cruel genius of the infiltrator. They don't isolate you with force. They make others do it for them. The Stoics warned us. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Epictetus, but what happens when someone ensures others think that without your consent? When they build a version of you behind closed doors, and people believe it before you even know it's been said. This isn't gossip. This is reputation warfare, and it works because they use your trust against you. They study who you lean on, who lifts you up, and one by one, they weaken those bonds, not by attacking, but by our EFRAMING. Suddenly, your honesty sounds dramatic, your confidence looks arrogant, your silence seems suspicious, and if you try to explain yourself, it sounds exactly like what they've been warning people you do. From a psychological lens. This tactic is called triangulation, a common trait of covert manipulators. They thrive on disconnection. Why? Because an isolated soul is easier to control, a disconnected heart is easier to manipulate, and a lonely person is easier to rewrite. But here's the truth, and I want you to hear this clearly. If people can be turned against you that easily, they were never as rooted in truth as you thought. Still, it hurts. It makes you question yourself. That's why the Stoic answer isn't to rage. It's to anchor. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved and the raging of the sea falls still. Around it, you don't have to defend yourself against every whisper. But you do have to guard your peace. Speak your truth. even if it shakes, and slowly rebuild your tribe with those who choose you, not just your image. So, if you're feeling alone lately, ask yourself, who benefits from my isolation? Who always seems to be there when others aren't? Because the person who poisons your connections without ever raising their voice may not want your life to end. They just want to own it. But you're not here to be owned. You're here to live clearly, boldly, and truthfully. And the people who are meant for you, they'll hear your voice, not the echo someone else created. 5. They don't attack your beliefs. They just make you feel foolish for having them. It starts with a laugh, not loud, not cruel, just that little chuckle when you mention something close to your heart, a prayer, a ritual, a quote that's carried you through storms. They don't say it's wrong. They just tilt their head, smile politely, and say, you really still believe in that? At first, it feels small, like maybe you're overthinking it. But that feeling lingers, and suddenly, the comfort you once found in faith starts to feel silly, outdated, even embarrassing. I remember a man named Joseph, 62, a former math teacher, quiet, thoughtful, deeply rooted in a simple spiritual practice. He used to start every morning with a verse and a walk, said it helped him stay grounded. But after his wife passed, he got close to a neighbor, an articulate, educated man who called himself a realist. At first, the neighbor listened. Then, he started teasing. You still believe in all that Sunday school stuff? The universe doesn't care, Joe. Better to face that than live in fantasy. Over time, Joseph stopped walking, stopped reading, stopped believing. That's the damage, not the arguments, the erosion, not opposition, humiliation. See, they don't come to take your beliefs head on. They just shake the foundation until it feels easier to stop building. And when that happens, you lose more than tradition. You lose a part of yourself. Stoic thinkers, though not religious in the modern sense, understood the sacred power of inner grounding. Epictetus said, no man is free who is not master of himself. But you can't master yourself if someone keeps making you doubt your center. If every value you hold is questioned, not for dialogue, but for dismissal. Psychologists call this spiritual invalidation. It's a subtle form of control, used to weaken your confidence by making you ashamed of the beliefs that anchor you. And once that shame sets in, you stop trusting your inner compass. You stop reaching for higher meaning. You just drift. So, here's a question I want you to sit with. Do you feel smaller after conversations with this person, or more aligned with your truth? Because someone who truly loves you will never belittle the things that give your soul peace. Even if they don't share them, you don't have to explain your faith. You don't have to shrink your rituals, and you certainly don't need to apologize for finding light where others see nothing. Whether it's prayer, meditation, scripture, or silence, whatever brings you back to yourself is sacred. And anything that tries to dim that is not wisdom. It's just a louder kind of emptiness. So hold your ground. Stand by your beliefs, not with arrogance, but with quiet strength. Let them laugh, if they must. Let them scoff. But never hand over your spirit to someone who doesn't know how to tend their own. Because the soul is not something to be argued. It's something to be honored. And if someone can't do that, they don't belong in your sacred space. 6. They make themselves indispensable until you forget you were whole without them. It doesn't start with control. It starts with help. They fix a problem, offer advice, make life feel just a little bit easier. And before you know it, you start to rely on them, not because you have to, but because they've made you believe you should. Every decision starts going through them. Every little worry finds its way to their doorstep. They become your go-to, your compass, your crutch. You say things like, I don't know what I'd do without them. And the truth is they've made sure you feel that way. I once knew a woman named Margaret, 58, independent, successful, lived alone by choice and loved it. Then she met Daniel, charming, thoughtful, always knew what to say. He remembered her appointments, handled her tech issues, took care of her car, and over time, she let him into everything. Not just her house, her choices, her peace. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't forced, but one day, she hesitated before making a decision, a small one, because he wasn't there to ask. That's how it happens. You don't lose control with chains. You lose it with comfort, with convenience, with the quiet belief that you're not complete without someone else's opinion. From a Stoic lens, this is the most dangerous kind of dependency, the one that wears the mask of care. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." But how can you disregard what you've been told you can't live without? The answer is, you remember who you were before they arrived. You remember that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it's the whisper that says, "I can figure this out on my own." Psychologists call this dynamic dependency conditioning. Over time, someone creates a loop where your autonomy shrinks, and their influence grows, not through demand, but through design. And it's often done with good intentions. But good intentions don't always lead to good outcomes. Ask yourself, when was the last time I made a decision entirely on my own and felt good about it? Do I feel confident or just comfortable? Because comfort can be addictive, and the illusion of safety can quietly become a trap. Let me share this. You are more capable than you've been led to believe. You've survived seasons that no one even saw. You've made hard choices without applause. You've carried yourself through pain without asking for help. That power, it's still there. It never left. It just got quiet. So today, if someone in your life seems to need to be needed, if they wrap their importance around your every action, gently pull back, reclaim your decision-making, test your independence in small ways, and watch as your confidence returns like a sunrise, slow, steady, unstoppable. You don't need permission to live freely. You never did. You just need to remember, no one gets to be the gatekeeper to your own life, and anyone who claims that role isn't love, it's limitation. The deepest wounds don't always bleed. Sometimes they come dressed as love, as support, as just trying to help. But underneath the disguise is control, depletion, isolation, and a slow erasure of your soul. Stoic wisdom reminds us, you may not control events, but you can always control how you respond. In a world loud with distraction and manipulation, clarity is your greatest protection. If someone makes you doubt your gut, question your worth, or believe you can't survive without them, step back. Not because you're weak, but because you're finally seeing clearly, and seeing clearly is the beginning of freedom. You're not alone in this. We're building a community of mindful thinkers, protecting peace, holding boundaries, and reclaiming self-trust through the power of Stoic thought. If this resonated with you, hit subscribe, not just to follow a channel, but to join a circle of clarity seekers, walking the quiet, powerful path of awareness. Your peace is not a luxury, it's your responsibility, and your journey to reclaim it starts here.